take the SAT 1 reasoning test. Testing will begin in a few minutes. First, listen carefully to the instructions that I must read. The College Board and ETS are obligated to report scores that accurately reflect your performance. Therefore, ETS...
On Saturday, October 9th, 500,000 American teenagers, mostly high school seniors, will take the most important test in their young lives, the SAT.
My parents don't know much about the SATs. They just know that the highest score is 1,600, and that's what I needed to get. But that didn't happen.
Does anybody want to try this?
Yes.
This is a weighted average problem.
An entire industry has grown up dedicated to raising test scores, beginning at a younger and younger age.
There can be pairs of words that appear on the SAT that do not have any connection. Kiana?
Flower and barbershop.
Right. Okay, so...
In a storefront off the Pacific Coast Highway in Laguna Beach, California, 13 and 14-year-olds practice for their SATs in a program called the Cambridge Colloquium. It costs $500 a year and lasts for 5 years.
Okay, let's say you had a guess. It says decibel and sound. This is not your dad's SAT anymore, okay? It's a whole different world. You don't show up to the SAT anymore without some prep, because the SAT, along with your grade point average, are the two most important criteria that college admissions departments look at. Dr. Megason's going to pick the first question and give it out. Okay, don't open until I say, right? Okay, ready? Open. Antonyms for 300. Here we go.
No, D. Yes, it is.
What is it, Dr. Megason?
A.
It was A. Uh-oh.
I knew I should.
The average SAT score is 1,000 on a scale of 1,600. But this is what I know. The bright student scores are getting higher and higher, and that a 1550 used to mean everything, and a 1550 doesn't necessarily mean everything anymore.
What are we heading for?
1,600.
Yeah.
We're back at 7:40. This Saturday morning, more than 500,000 students across the country will experience what's become a teenage rite of passage, the Scholastic Aptitude Test. What may surprise you is the age of some of the students preparing for and taking the SATs. Our national correspondent, John Frankel, has the details. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Tom. You know, whatever you think of the SATs, for many students, it will make or break their college dreams. The pressure is incredible, and a growing number of these students are getting ready for the exam earlier than ever before.
Let's look at the first page of our analogy.
For these students in Laguna Beach, California, little time has passed between learning their ABCs and getting ready for the SATs.
If x plus 4 equals y plus 6 equals z plus 8, then the average arithmetic mean of x, y, and z is what?
If that equation boggles your mind, figure this. Sasha Spear, a 7th grader, is enrolled in a 5-year program at Cambridge Academic Services to prepare for her SATs.
We always have a vocabulary test, and then we do a lesson, which is usually an interesting lesson, and then we play Jeopardy, which is always fun.
Sentence completion for 500.
Lisa Muehle has tutored more than 500 students in the program she describes as sensibly paced.
7th graders come once a week after school during the academic year from September through June. By the time a student takes the SAT, if they've gone to this program for a few years, they know the test backwards and forwards.
At a cost of about $25 per session, Sasha's mom sees it as a relatively low-risk investment in her daughter's future.
I think it's so competitive to get into college, and it's only progressively getting more competitive, that I think it's an advantage to be able to have extra help in preparing for this kind of test.
Last year, more than 100,000 students in 8th grade or below actually took the SAT. For most, it was to gain admission to programs for gifted students at prestigious universities. But for thousands of other kids, it was a test run.
There's not much riding on your score on the test other than just to see how you compare to kids who are older than you taking the same test.
Brian O'Reilly is a director of the College Board, which administers the SAT. He says students in 9th grade or younger averaged a score of 885 last year, compared to a 1020 average for college-bound high school seniors.
So the notion of preparing for the SAT as a 7th and 8th grader, other than just becoming familiar with what's on the test, seems kind of silly.
What do you think, Pierre?
A sentiment surprisingly shared by Kaplan Incorporated, a test prep empire.
When you start too soon, you're going to burn kids out, and I think you're often likely to add to the pressure that they're already going to be feeling.
Seppi Basili, a Kaplan vice president, says his company won't turn away young students, but prefers they wait.
7th graders are like sponges, and they pick up parent stress, they pick up teacher stress, and what we don't want to do is really add to that stress, and in some cases, we might be doing that.
Let me tell you what stress is. Stress is, it's March of your junior year. You're staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning doing your homework, and you forgot to prepare for the SAT, and you're taking it in 60 days. Okay, now you have a real problem.
The vocabulary portion of the SAT was a concern for Peter Bowie, a Cambridge alum.
There's certain ways they ask questions, and certain ways the test is laid out that can confuse even the brightest of kids.
Bowie took a year-long, super intensive prep course with Cambridge and scored a perfect 1,600 on the SAT. This fall, he's headed to Notre Dame on a $40,000 scholarship.
It was a very good practice because it really made me focus on the weaknesses, such as vocabulary, which is very difficult for me.
Now Peter's parents plan to enroll his 2 younger sisters in the program.
If you're an Olympic athlete, you don't wait until 90 days before the event to train for it. You start training several years before, so that by the time you have that event, you're well prepared for it and are going to do well and perform well.
Lisa Muehle says most of the 11th graders who have gone through all 5 years of her program have scored between 1250 and the perfect 1,600, but you know a perfect score does not guarantee you getting into the college of your choice.